Good evening and welcome to Main Street Sports. Ray Halbrook with Live Stream STL here. Hope everybody's having a great Thursday. It's kind of a weird day for us to be here on Thursday, but it is what it is here. Jeff Whitener, you are in the command center over there next to me here, and
in the La Pachanga Command Center here.
There he is.
Basketball Central tonight. We are so excited to be back on the Main Street Sports Show. We have a little lull now as the fall sports season is winding down, Ray, and we've got some time to start thinking ahead to the winter sports season. And, of course, that means basketball for us and plenty of it. And I know here very shortly down the road you will be previewing what our schedule will be like for the season.
The preview.
Once we get everything, we get our ducks in a row. So very excited about that. But as I said, we're going to talk hoops tonight. We want to start off with our JCAA boys large schools, and we've got three of our coaches here tonight with us. We have Dan Johnson of the Hillsboro Hawks, Zeb Hammond of the DeSoto Dragons, and, of course, Jason Therrell of the Festus Tigers. And it's going to be a fun season watching these guys compete and watching their teams. Before we go over this season so far, practice just started this week, so it's kind of early. We want to talk to these guys a little bit about put a recap on last season. And gentlemen, as I said before, it feels like it's been ages ago since we were able to talk about basketball. So much has happened in the world since then, and obviously even the state championships were affected by the onset of COVID back in the late winter, early spring. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit. We're going to start with Coach Johnson of the Hillsboro Hawks. And, Coach, last year, another great season, 22-6 overall, 4-0 in conference play. Fell to Park Hills in the district championship game. Now, if I'm doing my math correct, I don't think you guys have lost a conference game since 2015. Is that correct?
If you did the math, I'm going to believe you.
Coach Therrell's backing me up there.
That sounds about right.
I'm going to think you're correct if you're adding it up.
Unfortunately, you would know, right?
Yeah.
Lost 4 seniors to graduation. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
That were and it's 4 that were a very big part of your team and your team's productivity. We'll talk about that a little bit. Ethan Worley, you lost. He is currently at Blackhawk College. Mm-hmm. Evan Worley, his brother, is at Wabash Valley, and Mark Moore, your guard, was at Webster U and playing basketball as well as soccer up there. Those 3 guys led your team in scoring. There were only 13 points that separated the 3. So you talk about a balanced attack. You certainly had it. Mark Moore led the team in steals with 53 and assists with 110. So kind of give us a little recap of how that season went, even though it seems so long ago now.
Yeah, well, and we lost in the district championship. I believe it was March 5th. It was a Thursday. The following Friday, we started our spring break at Hillsboro, and we never came back to school.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, that was really just an abrupt ending. But the season itself, Mark Moore, he was a conference MVP. Obviously, he was the motor for our team, and he did just so many crazy things that you can't coach, but that makes a coach look very smart. Ethan and Evan Worley were great additions, obviously, the year before coming in that semester. And I think they both put up double figures, and they're both going on playing some college basketball now. And then the guy that kind of gets lost maybe in the shuffle is Garrett Pinkley, who, for my money is probably just as valuable, if not more, than all of those guys. He kind of was the glue that made everything stick together there. And he was also the bridge kind of from our seniors to our juniors and that kind of stuff. Garrett was the dirty work guy, and he was the fixer. So definitely miss those 4 guys. They left a big mark on our program and helped us have a great year last year, and left some big shoes to fill for this year's crew.
Garrett was one of my favorite players in the conference too, and he had some big clutch plays in some of the games that we did. What is he up to now? Do we know?
He's currently attending Jefferson College. We saw him time to time whenever we could get in the gym. I know he's playing some we call it old man ball. I think some YMCA stuff with some of our guys, and I think he's prepping to go to a university. But I believe the COVID stuff and all, he had some opportunities to play some baseball at the next level, but he chose to pursue his college stuff, and then I think when everything gets settled, he's going to find a university to land at.
Good. That's very good to hear. Well, we go from Coach Johnson and the Hillsboro Hawks to Coach Zeb Hammond in the DeSoto Dragons, and an interesting season, Coach, and in looking at some of your games and looking at some of the stats, 12-15 overall. Lost to St. Mary's in the district semifinals, of course, and
that's us.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's us.
You're right. 8-17 overall, 1-3 in conference. Fell to Farmington in the district quarterfinals. One thing I didn't know for sure was how many, if any, seniors you lost last year.
We had one senior on the team last year. He was more of a role player for our team, but everyone's coming back this year. I'll have 6 seniors this year and 5 juniors, which is nice. I haven't had a upper class filled team in a long time, so
right.
It's something I've been looking forward to. This group, they've been looking forward to it. Last year we lost a lot of close games, and it just kind of came down to not having that leader on the team and not knowing how to finish games.
Right.
I felt like we competed in most games last year and just couldn't seal the deal towards the end.
Right. Well, you've got the big man, Jordan Mertens, coming back. I know he's been working hard all summer long. He was your leading scorer, followed by Nick Krodinger, and then Aiden Blair led the team in assists, while Nick Krodinger led the team in steals. So, as you said, a lot of close games last year, but you're senior heavy this year. What do you think? Who do you think will emerge as the leader this year for you? I know it's early in practice, but who are you counting on to help guide the troops out there in the court?
Jordan's kind of that filled that role. He took over last year. He's the by far our defensive stopper. He's always talking back there, getting everyone in places where they need to be. Offensively, he's kind of the motor. When he's scoring, we're playing pretty well. And he just really stepped up, really pushing everyone in practice this year. And everyone seems to be following. I'm still missing a couple of football players, but I think once they come back, Levi Fisher will also fill that leader role, who had a second half of a season last year. He started to find his niche on the team, find his shot, kind of really figuring it out.
What year is Levi this year?
He's a senior.
He will be. He is a senior this year. Yes. Okay. Because I know I always get all those Fisher boys confused there. But now we're going to move to Festus, and we're going to move to the 12-14 overall record with Coach Therrell. 3-1 conference play. Lost to St. Mary's in district semifinals. Hey, take a number. That happens to everybody. That's for sure. Lost only 2 players to graduation?
Yeah. We lost two role players to graduation.
So we've got 2 teams here that are going to be a ton of experience that were down a little bit last year, possibly. Cole Rickerman, Colin Riendo, and Demarion Anderson led the team in scoring very closely together. Here again, another balanced attack, and all 3 are back this year, I would assume?
Yes.
Okay. Colin Riendo led the team in both assists and steals, and I can just answer this question from watching your team. To me, he was the motor for you guys, without a doubt. I mean, Rickerman's right there too, but freshman Ahmad Branch showed flashes of brilliance last year. I thought and had a very strong summer season, I know. And so, Coach, give us a recap of how you think things went last year.
All those players you mentioned had good seasons last year. we were young. That's probably an understatement. I think it's probably the youngest team Festus has had in about 20 or 25 years. So I would say we're young this year. I'd say it was a little bit more than that last year. 3 of our 4 best players were 2 sophomores and a freshman, and then we had a junior. So even those kids now, we have Armad will be back as a sophomore, and then most of those other kids are juniors. But they have a lot of experience, got a lot of playing time last year, and then we add some kids to the JV from that I think can help us. Got some playing time as well last year. So we were inconsistent, though, at times. We played some really nice games, but we were just never able to develop any consistency, and it hurt us in a lot of areas. But hopefully this year we can get that going a little bit better.
Well, and just to piggyback on that is last year from what I saw and watching some of your games, I thought your JV you had a pretty strong squad there. So it'd be interesting to see how they were able to come up and contribute. Do you have any of the football guys coming in that transfer that are going to be playing basketball?
Yeah, a couple of those guys play. So, yeah, we're adding in same kids that the football team added will be playing basketball as well.
Robert Stay and
Desmond Davis.
Desmond Davis. So. Mm-hmm. So he looks to be a big load in the middle for you, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll be definitely a contributor. I would expect both of them to contribute.
Sure, enjoy watching him play defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a guy who can block him one-on-one this season.
He's a big, strong kid for sure.
Well, gentlemen, before we start, how have you spent your off season? Aside from we know Coach Hammond has grown his pandemic beard, right?
That's right. Rocking the beard.
How have you, given the subsequent shutdowns, were you able to conduct any open gyms at all later in the summer? And how do the overall numbers look? Are your numbers being affected by COVID as far as participation or anything like that? We can start with Coach Hammond.
Overall, I think our numbers are pretty high. Coming out for the team this year, we had 20 freshmen, and then our sophomores, juniors, and seniors numbers were just right there with them. Once we finally got the okay to start doing stuff in the summer, we had some open gyms, really hit the weight room hard, and a lot of shooting. So we kind of continue that through the school year. We always have morning shooting before school and then weight room after school until practice hits. And, now things are rolling. Numbers are good, and hopefully everyone can stay healthy.
And I believe you mentioned before we went on the air here that you've been conducting 4:30 a.m. practices.
Yeah, just to, we only have one gym, so to help kind of keep the numbers down low and, lessen the chance of my players getting quarantined, we, varsity comes in 4:30 in the morning, work out till about 7:15, 7:30. And
you have to really have a passion for basketball to do that, to get up and do that. That's very, very interesting. Coach Therrell, how'd you spend the time aside from moving subdivisions?
Right. So in July we were allowed to start having open gyms, and my experience was that the kids were super ready to get something started. A lot of them hadn't been doing anything for a while, and when July rolled around, we had really great participation. They were there. We did 3 days a week open gyms all July and had great participation, and we rolled right into the fall doing open gyms as well with the kids that don't play football. So my experience is that kids are really looking to do something right now, and our numbers are really good. And just about every coach I've talked to has good numbers right now. So I think the kids are definitely looking to get out there and participate when they can.
I would agree with that. Coach Johnson, would you agree with Coach Therrell?
Yeah, I would echo what both these guys said. July 6th or 15th or whenever it was, the kind of date kept moving on us. But these guys too, probably your players are texting you, when can we come in, when is it, when do we get the schedule? And the kids were chomping at the bit to get in there, and we were there all the way through July. Starting in the fall, we got some morning stuff, some open gyms after school, kids are just excited. They want to be doing something. They want to be out there with their teammates. We've got a hybrid schedule going on at our school.
Right.
So I think that adds even a little bit more to it, because if they're not on, at school the same day as some of their friends that are teammates, they get to see them, at open gyms or now at practices and stuff. So
sure.
the camaraderie and all that kind of stuff is at a pretty high level, as it usually is this early in the season. We'll see where we are here in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Well, and just to let folks know at home, if they don't already, this is the first week of basketball practice. So these gentlemen, we're asking them to make some assessments based on just a few days of practice so far, which is really impossible to do. But I will ask you this, though, and I asked the football coaches the same in the fall. Obviously, with COVID and the layoff and a lot of people going in, have you been able, without mentioning any names, see the kids who really worked hard at their craft and really stayed in shape, and maybe some of the kids that, we'll say, gained the COVID-15 over the summer?
I'll say yes. Yeah, it's pretty.
You know right away who.
Yeah. You know who was taking it serious and who was just kind of taking it easy. That's for sure.
Right. You guys have the same experience of that.
I think always you can tell from one season to the next what kid has really put in a lot of time, but I think they may be even more exposed this year because I think, they could have been sitting around doing nothing for a couple months.
Right.
So, yeah, you can definitely tell who's put in the time this summer.
Well, let me ask you this, and I'm going to start with Coach Hammond. Point somebody out maybe on the team, this we can name names who have really impressed you with the way that they've come in, where you can say, obviously, they've put in some work, whether it was work in the weight room, work on their craft as far as summer league, as far as their game itself. Who do you see so far that's been a standout in that area?
The player I'd have to mention would be Aiden Blair. We were testing verticals the other day, and last year he was at a 24-inch vertical, and this year he's at 31. He put all the time into the weight room, and his shot's getting better. And he's a senior now. He's taking it serious. He's always the first one there at practice, usually the last one leaving between him and Mertens. So I would say he definitely had the biggest growth so far from last year.
Excellent. That's always good. I'm really happy to hear those kind of stories where guys have taken it seriously and really worked. Coach Therrell, what have you seen so far?
Kind of a tough one for me because a lot of my kids have been kind of in a group together doing a lot of things on their own, so I've had quite a few kids that I think have made a pretty big jump. I think Armad's a completely different player than he was last year. He's grown quite a bit, and I think he's going to be one of the most improved players around. But I'd like to probably point out Connor Westhoff and Colin Winehouse, 2 kids that played a little bit last year on the varsity that have put in a ton of time that I think will be significant contributors.
Those are the 2 kids that really impressed me the most on your JV squad last year.
Both of them can shoot the ball, and I think they'll help us quite a bit.
Absolutely. Coach Johnson, what have you seen so far?
I could probably point to a few guys. The first one that would stand out would be Zach Whaley. So will be a 3-year starter for us this year. He started since he was a sophomore, but he's always had kind of those big name guys that have played ahead of him, and his role has been a little bit different. I think he really prepared for what his role needed to be and will be for us this year. He's gotten better at everything. He's created a lot of scoring and through his ball skills and all that kind of stuff. It's really evident, and his mindset's in the right spot. And then, Eric Schneider came off the bench for us last year. He's really turned it on and last year he was a spot-up shooter. Now he's got a bigger role as well and can do a little bit. And I think a kid that may come out and surprise some people, unless you know the name, is Noah Holland. He's a sophomore for us. He had a really good offseason as well, and he's kind of an explosive little guard as well.
Now, do all of you coaches currently have football players that are still playing at this point? So, obviously, with their season going on, at least through tomorrow night, it'll be going on. Do you handle things differently? Let's say, and I'm just going to use Festus for an example. Okay. Let's say they win their game tomorrow night, and they move on. Nothing against DeSoto. But let's say they move on and they play next week. Do you have any certain? Can they as soon as their season is over, can they jump right into the practice schedule? Do you have anything that they need to do as far as maybe them healing up if they're dinged up a little bit? Or
I'll expect them there the day after it's over. I mean, there might be a day or two where we do that, but when they lose on Friday, they'll start practice on Monday. They'll be there. So.
How about you guys? That's pretty much the same. No special protocols. Just as soon as you can get in the gym.
Yeah, and usually it's kind of for me in my experience the last few years, we've had some really, talented football players that have come off. If Michael Keller, happened to carry the ball 35 times, on Friday. I know he wants to be in the gym. He's going to let me know.
Right.
I think if they were still in the season, they probably wouldn't go real hard until like Wednesday or something like that. So I may give them that. But, it kind of goes by position. I'm usually at the games or, now watching them on TV. I can kind of see who's doing what. Not that I know exactly. I'm not in their arena with them, but a special situation like that might warrant a little bit more rest. But
of course, these are 16, 17, 18-year-old kids, so they just bounce back the next day like nothing's happened. Where if that happened to adults like us, we'd have weeks to recover from that kind of thing.
Right.
And I think that as far as those guys, the only really part of the practice that they don't want to be at is probably the first week or the first few days. I think after that they're all chomping at the bit to get in there and start playing, so they've already got past that part.
By the time they get back, they're seeing where games are coming up, so they're ready to get back in there and practice.
Coach Hammond, who do you have from the football team on your squad?
Cody Petty and Levi Fisher.
Oh, Levi, yeah, that's right. You mentioned Levi as well.
I'll be two starters, but you ask, how do they kind of fit when they come back? Honestly, those kids have been doing stuff with you all summer long, morning workout, stuff like that. So odds are once they get into, football shape's a little bit different than basketball shape, but once they get into that basketball shape, I mean, there's not a heartbeat that they'll miss. So.
Right. Here again, the young people have a tendency to heal up and bounce back very quickly, that's for sure. Ray, why don't we take a quick break?
Sure.
When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the needs, the strengths of the teams they see so far, just this early in practice, and we'll grill the coaches here, right here on the Main Street Sports Show on Livestream STL.
Fine Mexican cuisine.
A family atmosphere.
Any place to watch your local sport teams. Come out to La Pechangas. Check out our 4 locations: Arnold, Herculaneum, Crystal City, and Monterrey. Come out to La Pechanga.
Jefferson College is my first choice.
My first choice to launch a successful career, not just a job.
My first choice for classes that are guaranteed to transfer toward my major.
Affordable career programs, 2-year transfer, and high school dual enrollment courses. Begin the path to a great career without paying a 4-year college price.
Jefferson College is my first choice.
My first choice.
Make Jefferson College your first choice for a great education.
Since their inception in 1980, SMCI has always been about high integrity and treating people the way you would want to be treated, just like family. Mostly known as a commercial contractor, SMCI has now decided to give the family treatment to everyone. They are now opening their residential department to the public as Home by SMCI so everyone can experience the home treatment. Everyone deserves maximum comfort in their very own home. Isn't it time you come home? Contact SMCI at 636-337-4444 or on the web at homebysmci.com.
Guys, I've always wanted to ask you this since you're both pitchers. What's your favorite pitch? It's a fastball? Okay, I know. It's a curveball. No? Okay, well, what's your favorite pitch?
Oh, yeah.
Spitball.
The Main Street Sports Show. You never know what we're going to throw at you.
Where's the game? Where's the game? Where's the game? There's the game. Livestream STL, now available on Roku.
Welcome back to our second segment here. I'm not sure how many segments we're going to do tonight. We didn't talk about that, did we? Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, he says. So, our second segment here of Main Street Sports, as I pull up some graphics here. And, Jeff, I'll turn your microphone on now because I'm neglected in my microphone turn-on duties here. So
that's quite all right, Ray. Once again, we're here with Dan Johnson of the Hillsboro Hawks, Jason Therrell of the Festus Tigers, and Zeb Hammond of the DeSoto Dragons. Three of our large JCAA large school boys basketball coaches, and talking about last season, talking about getting ready for this season so far, Ray, with just a few practices in. But guys, and I know that knowing that you're coaches, you'll probably go back and review this and take notes on what each other says because you're going to be competing against one another. But without spilling the beans too much, and I'm going to start with Coach Therrell here. Due to graduation, and you didn't have, you and Zeb didn't have a lot of kids graduate, but right. What do you feel is some of the biggest needs that you're trying to fill on the team this year?
You mean as opposed to last year?
Yes.
Okay. One of the things that I think we've tried to do in the past is play pretty good defense, and I just thought last year we were very inconsistent with that. We didn't keep the ball in front of us as much as we need to. We didn't rebound at a high level. So I think just this year I would hope that we would get back to that where we were really getting after people and guarding, and I think we have the athleticism to do that, but just as we just weren't consistent with it. And I don't think you can blame that all on just being young. I didn't do a good enough job of getting those guys ready to play defense every night. And I think that we need to get back to that where we're really somebody that's hard to score against and consistently hard to score against. So that's where we'll start. But I think offensively we got to get contributions from a few more people up and down the lineup too, and we got to shoot the ball a little bit better than what we did. We were a poor outside shooting team. We were a poor free throw shooting team. And then kids have worked hard trying to get better at that, but it gets demoralizing when you're missing that many shots to guard consistently,
Right.
So I think if you see the ball go in the basket a little bit more, that, everybody's feeling good about themselves and playing defense too. So just overall, I think those are some things that could help us be better this year.
Yeah, it all builds on each other. That energy level from making that shot translates into the energy on defense.
Well, when you played Hillsboro or whatever the last couple of years, going in, they're going to be good at these 3 or 4 things. They've been great at 3 or 4 things. Last year, I don't think you could really point to one thing for us and say, hey, every night Festus is going to bring this. And, good teams, going in that they're going to do certain things, and I don't think we did last year.
Well, Coach Hammond, what about you? You talked a little bit about leadership and Jordan taking that role along with Aiden. But what are you looking for here in this first week? Some from your players as far as filling some roles.
Definitely going to need someone other than Jordan stepping up on the offensive end. Last year, our offense would get stagnant, and you look down and Jordan has 2 and 3 defenders on him. And my guards did not shoot the ball very well. And a lot of it was just shot selection and knowing when to shoot and when not to. So we really need to focus on that this year, but also, knowing when we need to push the ball and when we need to slow it down. I think, clock management was huge last year. We were always, go. And just like that, we could blow a 10-point lead, by forcing shots and other teams getting runouts at the other end. So I think, with that comes maturity, and, I think the guys are starting to realize when they need to push it and when they need to slow down and call a set. Petty this year will be our point guard. I think as a junior he feels more comfortable reading the defense, being able to call a set on his own. So, hopefully I don't have to dictate, the game by calling every single set. I don't want to do that. I want the kids to go out there and play.
Sure.
And I think with him maturing, he'll be able to help me control the game like that.
Absolutely. Well, as we talked about before, you guys have a lot of returning players, didn't graduate a lot of seniors. Coach Johnson's kind of on the other end of the spectrum. He graduated a core that were very instrumental to the productivity, both offensively and defensively, for his team. So you have the help wanted sign out over there at Hillsboro. What are you looking for as far as specific
I doubt
rules?
that. I don't think they have the help wanted sign.
They have a tendency to be able to reload, don't they?
Well, it'll be different for us, obviously, on both sides of the floor. I know everybody's going to feel sorry for us, but this is the first time in 5 years we don't have a 6'7" kid. So no rim protector sitting there to make up for the mistakes if a guard happens to get blown by. Nobody that you can say he's going to have 8 rebounds or 10 rebounds at the end of the night, regardless. Nobody to just throw it to on the block for a bucket or force a double team. So we'll have to be a little bit more creative, be a little more, we'll have to value the ball a little bit more. We can't turn it over because we can't erase those mistakes on the other end. But it also, so it makes us play differently. Makes it a little bit more challenging for me, a little more fun for me that we can get in there and try some different things. We're not, if you got a 6'7" kid or if you got multiple big kids, it's like we need to pound it here or we need to do whatever. And now we can kind of, everything's on the table. That all I have to do is figure out, who's good at what and try to put them in those positions. So that's what we're kind of evaluating, through the summer, through the fall, and now during practice. We'll rely heavily on 3 guards. I can kind of see that right now. They're all 3 pretty good. So I mean that's an okay deal. And how can we put some pieces around them to complement those guys and get them playing hard all the time. So yeah, it's completely different for us this year than it has been in years past. But the work ethic's still there, and the numbers are there, and the same fiery kids. Unfortunately, I don't think the crowds are going to be there. This year that'll be the one factor where we're going to have to create our own energy. I think that's an issue probably for all of us.
Sure.
And that's it'll be more like practice. Kind of like, and so if you can't get after it in practice, if you rely on that Friday night fan section to fire you up, then you're probably going to be in trouble.
Be the JCAA bubble that you guys will all be
right. Yeah. I'm in. Sign me up.
They'll be able to hear everything we say now.
Yeah.
That's you brought up a good point though. Different team, different build, different skills coming in. But as a coach, that kind of excites you because you've got to figure out something different now than what you're used to. Like you said, you don't have that big man, protecting the rim now. So as a coach, that I'm sure every year when you're trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, that's really what stimulates you, what you love about a coach, putting that together. But yeah, this year you could go in a whole different direction. Whatever is based on the talent that you have.
And most people in the stands will probably tell you, "Oh, now he's got a coach this year, right? Yeah, he's got a coach." No, but exactly. It's just we got to figure out what works best for us, and luckily we get 3 or 4 weeks in the preseason to do that.
Well, it'll be very interesting. Coach Therrell, last year we saw you insert Ahmad Branch into the lineup at times, and as I said, I thought that obviously you could tell this young man was going to be good, and I thought he was brilliant at times. At other times he had a lot to learn as a freshman, and I know from all of my reports and context how hard he's been working this year. But do you have any other freshmen that are coming up from middle school this year that are coming up as freshmen that might even make an impact on the varsity team?
That'd be really hard to say and envision right now. I mean, I definitely have a good freshman class coming in. There's no doubt there's a lot of kids in that class that have played together for a long time and been really well coached. But, at the varsity level right now, there's not a lot of spaces for that. But there's a couple kids. Hayden Bates is a really good player. Carter Roth is a really good player. There's a couple other big kids. But, right now to envision them playing varsity, I don't know about that. But definitely kids we're looking forward to having for 4 years, no doubt.
Sure. What about you, Zeb? Anybody coming in give you help at the varsity level?
There's one kid that I'll move up probably just for practices. Another Fisher boy, but the younger Fisher, he's he can handle the ball, and we need that scrimmaging on our
Sure.
second five a lot. So he'll come up and compete with us, and he's kind of got the body already of a young varsity player, but I think he can hold his own up there.
If he's anything like his older brothers as far as character and smarts, and I think you'll be fine with that.
Right.
Coach Johnson, what about you? Anybody and everybody on the table?
Well, we definitely. I already spoke a little bit about Noah Holland, who
Right.
we're expecting big things out of him. Him to make a large impact. We got a really good freshman group coming in, but that would kind of envision them, kind of staying maybe together or playing some JV stuff. But we got a sophomore looking for some size, Kieran Jones. He's about 6'5", athletic kid, football player that looked really good for us this summer. And he's a 6'5" athlete. He can run, jump, and maybe provide some of that rim protection and anchor the defense and that kind of stuff for us. So those two guys are the ones, the younger guys in our deal, that would stick out as have an opportunity to make an impact.
Well, that kind of leads me into my next question here, because we talked about the incoming players and talked about who you might have on your roster. Will the effect of COVID, will that make a determination on how many guys you carry on your varsity roster or dress out, maybe on varsity versus not, as far as maybe, or separating the JV guys versus the varsity? Have you guys thought about that at all yet, Coach Hammond?
It's actually a conversation Dan and I were having before we got on live here. It definitely affects the way you approach the season. It's not a matter of, who's going to get quarantined. It's just a matter of when someone's going to get quarantined. So you definitely have to have enough players. I mean, honestly, I'm reaping the effects of it right now. I have nine kids in the high school, 9 through 12, that are quarantined. So, you have to have enough guys that you can be able to, go 5-on-5. And so I think all our teams this year will definitely be heavy, just for when it's going to happen again. So.
Sure, you got to have good numbers. What about you, Coach Therrell?
I think the interesting part is how you choose to do practice. Who practices with who and how you figure that out. Like right now, I'm missing quite a few football kids, not just for the older kids, but some of the younger kids too. So we've been practicing together, which is not typical for us. We usually practice varsity by themselves. So, you got to make some decisions there what that looks like. If you got more people in the gym, you got more risk, in terms of somebody getting it. So I think those are just things you have to think through. I think one thing that could be risky, though, too, is overthinking that. You still got to do things the way you want to do them and practice right. Because, like Zeb said, you can't prevent any of this. You almost can't even plan for too much of it. You just got to do what you think is right and handle it as it comes.
That's a very good point. Coach Johnson, what's your philosophy on this?
I think both these guys are spot on. It's something that I've still kind of haven't made a concrete decision on because all those kids haven't been back yet. We've got some cross-country kids that'll run tomorrow. That'll probably be back next week. We've got some football guys, and our soccer kids just finished their season yesterday. And so, typically we would have our varsity-only guys, our juniors and seniors, and then our underclassmen that are good enough to play varsity. And then we would pull up our top 3, 4, 5 JV players to practice with the varsity. And then that they'd kind of go play JV, and we play with our varsity guys. And then the next year, those guys got a whole year of development playing against varsity guys, and that's our new kind of group of kids. This year, we've got 2 gyms. We've got the opportunity to practice completely separate. So, do you keep the JV guys only on JV? Do you practice varsity guys and maybe lose a little development from those younger guys potentially? Do you practice them up and then don't dress them out? All these things, that you got to think about. But I haven't been forced to make that decision yet, just because those kids are still out there, doing their fall sports. So I guess I'll have to cross that bridge here in the next few days or week or whatever. But I think what Coach Therrell said is, spot on as well. You can't overthink it. We've got control over like this much, and just kind of do what you think is right and do what you feel like is best at the time. And you may find out later that it was wrong, but maybe you won't.
I've told our kids, like, we just got to enjoy every day that we're in the gym and what we're doing. Like, our most enjoyable part of the season might be practices. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know what that looks like. So these kids deserve an opportunity to have some enjoyment out of this season. So if that's going to be practices and us competing like crazy against ourselves every day, then that's what it's going to be. But they deserve to get an enjoyable season, so that's what we're going to try to do.
Well, you're right, and as adults, as coaches, and I'm sure administrators, everybody at school, and everybody, we really want to do what's best by these kids and let them have the opportunity to enjoy high school athletics, and get a good season in. So whatever that takes, whatever that looks like, I agree 100%. We talked a little bit about, before we came on the air, and Ray, we talked a little bit about some of the tournaments and what those might look like this year, and you have some information on a tournament that's been canceled, right?
Yes. Yeah, we made that. Herbert. We made that announcement. Last night for the Rolla Herbert tournament. There could be a remake, but it'll obviously be at another location. But I don't think it's been solidified yet. But the good thing about this is I will let the cat out of the bag for us. Schedule-wise, as long as things stay the way they are right now, the Steig Horse tournament we're looking to be a part of, the Fountain City tournament, and also, again, our Douglas game. Are they going to call that the Douglas game again this year?
I hope. It's up at Crystal this year, so we'll have to figure out how they want to handle that.
Right. So
they may call it the Star School game, because that was the school. Yeah. But and at least that's what I've heard so far.
So
it's the same game.
The cool thing about it is we're available to be at all these really unique, cool games. Haven't been at U2's yet, but I always know that I've always heard great things about both tournaments. So we're excited about being a part of both of those. And once I get, some more solidified dates and whatnot, we'll actually release our basketball schedule. I have it. We're just waiting to hear back first from a couple of ADs just to make sure that nothing's going to change.
And the most important thing to Ray that he hasn't touched on here is, with the COVID protocols, are we actually going to have awesome hospitality rooms this year?
That's a big part of it.
It is a very big part of it.
That's a very big, Earl Austin Jr.
Oh my gosh!
Every time he goes to a tournament, he has to review the hospitality room. So everybody was trying to outdo one another.
I might be sending him some suggestions at some of these tournaments here. So you got to bring that A game, right?
Sure. Well, the reason I brought up the tournaments up is philosophy as a coach behind tournaments, and obviously, if your AD schedule them, you have to play them. But how do you look at tournaments, and depending on, I guess, the part of the season that they're in? And I'm going to start with Coach Johnson. As far as, do you look at them as tune-ups for the regular season? Do you look at them as just another chance to play and to kind of get a benchmark of where you're at in the progress? Or what is your philosophy of tournaments versus regular play?
I like the tournament atmosphere. Given that there is an atmosphere. Some tournaments are better than others and so forth. We switched last year. We got in the Fountain City tournament, so now we go back-to-back tournaments. We go DeSoto tournament and, Hillsboro Steig Horse tournament right after. It's a way to get, you're guaranteed 3 games. You kind of get some buzz. You kind of see some other teams. That's one part of getting in a tournament. You see teams that you don't see very often. I've been fortunate enough that we had a couple good teams where we got kind of invited to a tournament. I know Festus, we actually took their spot, I think, when they got out of the Maritime back in the day. But, the part of the year for me has kind of changed as I've went through the years. When I was coaching out at North County, the MAAA, they have the MAAA tournament right before the district tournament. Right. And I hated that.
Yeah.
I hated that. My buddy down there calls it I think he called it like the last chance or second chance invitational or whatever. You already had your conference season, and then you got your conference tournament or whatever. But, you're really your conference season was over, and you're kind of focusing on getting ready for districts and playing your best ball, and then you got that tournament right there. We get ours now all out of the way by Christmas. We have those two, then we have the Park Hills Christmas tournament, and then it's just games. I haven't minded in years having that January tournament. We played at St. James for a while. We played at Union for a while. But, I kind of like our way our schedule's set up now. And after Christmas, it's just conference and districts and whatever's in front of us.
So you kind of view the tournaments, kind of like you would want to front load the schedule with non-conference games, but then after, like you say, after the holidays, and you want to kind of get down to the nitty-gritty. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and especially now the way our season is set up, and it'll be new for all of us, the home and home situation. It'd be difficult, to have a tournament wedged in between, halfway between your conference season,
right.
And kind of what your focus is there. So it may be different for these guys, but I do like having 3 tournaments because I feel like you get an extra game. The way our schedule's set up, you can do, 18-2 or 16-3, and I do like having 3 tournaments. We went a couple years with only 2 tournaments, and I like 3 personally.
Okay. Coach Hammond, how do you feel about it? I know you said before that you're going to do whatever they ask you to do. So, but how do you feel personally about it?
No, I've always liked, ever since we started the Fountain City, I liked it backing up to the Hillsboro tournament. It's 6 games within 2 weeks. We have a few other games sprinkled in there, and it kind of really lets us know what we need to work on before we, get into that Christmas tournament, which, much bigger tournament. You're playing in front of a bigger crowd there. So it's almost like a prep to really let you learn your team
right.
and what you need to focus on. And especially now that we are going home and home, it seems like the later half of our season, it's going to be a lot of focus on, trying to win conference games, because instead of just playing 4 conference games now, you have 8, and I'm glad that our conference finally decided to do something like that. I think it feels, it'll feel more like a real conference, like when we used to have the small schools part of it.
Yeah.
I was back around when that time happened.
Way back in Ray's day.
I liked it.
As media people, we love it because
sure.
If we can get crowds in there, it's going to generate excitement and more rivalry and all that stuff. So it's a great atmosphere.
Yeah.
Coach Therrell, what do you think? How does your philosophy behind the tournaments?
What those 2 guys said, just to get off topic just a little bit with the conference home and home, that's something that we 3 talk quite a bit, and it's something that we've all kind of pushed for, and I think that's the most exciting part of our schedule this year. I think it makes for a much more interesting conference season. But in terms of the tournaments, we're in 2 right now. Ultimately, like Dan said, we'd like to get in 3. If we get our new gym built in a couple of years, maybe we'll host our own as well. But right now we're in 2, and we haven't had the pleasure of playing in the Fountain City, but I love the Steighorst tournament and the Park Hills tournament. So, no matter when those would be, we would love to play in them. They happen to be at the beginning of our season, or we get them out before Christmas. But both of them have been such great atmospheres over the years, and our kids really enjoy it. So it doesn't really matter to me what time of year they are. I like playing in those 2 tournaments.
Here again, give the kids a chance to play.
Yep.
Well, Ray, do you have any questions you'd like to? You've been over there thinking about all that's going on, sliding the slides, pushing the buttons, turning the knobs.
Are you kidding me? Well, I mean, the approach for this home at home now, going into this, does that change after you faced each other once this year, say, and do you think that you'll have to do some major changing as far as like the approach since you're playing them twice?
And then 3 times in district,
right? And so
possibly.
It's because all 3 you guys are in the same district, right?
We don't know yet, but we have.
More than likely.
They come out the second week.
It's possible. So, I mean, you guys are going to see each other a little bit more than you normally do. And obviously you've got enough on your plate with COVID. You've got enough on your plate with the amount of, we got to make sure we get enough practice time in, but also making sure, does the approach change? That's my question. And I'll start with Coach Therrell.
For me, no, it doesn't. There's been a lot of years where we've played 2-3 times anyway. I think that's what people really want to see, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. Us playing DeSoto or us playing Hillsboro on a Friday night is more exciting to our kids and our parents than us traveling somewhere far away and playing a team that the kids don't really know as well. So from that standpoint, I think it generates more interest. But I have a lot of respect for both of these guys, and whether you play them once or 3 times, your team's got to be ready to play, and you're going to have to. So I don't see us changing our approach at all. Like, you're going to have to be ready to play, and you're going to have to play good basketball.
Not a lot of secrets, that you can keep.
I don't.
At this point.
I mean, to be honest, I think we're all pretty honest with each other. I don't think there'll be any secrets with our teams or how we play. It's just going to be who plays better.
Coach Hammond?
You know, I don't think there's any change. We all watch film. I mean, before we play Hillsboro, I've probably already seen them play 10 times and know what they're going to do. Probably better than they know. The players know. But you know, it comes down to it. The kids got to go out and they got to execute. And you know, I was just kind of doing the math in my head. There could be a chance that we could play 6 times this year.
Wow.
If we met up in every tournament, met up, you know, home and home, and then districts. So,
yeah, we've talked about that before. If you end up playing each other 5 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, or whatever, that means you're both probably pretty good, or you're both probably pretty bad.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it should be, you know, it'll be competitive and fun for everybody involved, I think.
Lordy, that's good.
Oh my goodness.
That's good. Well, I mean, I'm excited about the season. You know, not taking anything away from the fall, because the fall's been a tough one for everybody.
Sure.
But you know, I'm glad that we made it through the fall. You know, I mean, a lot of folks said it couldn't be done. We did it. But at the same time, you know, we actually had a Twitter poll, and I'm gonna bring in our coaches box Twitter poll, and we also have a Twitter poll on our page too on Twitter. So. That's more about our broadcast, but one of the Twitter poll questions. Let me pull it up here real quick, because I think it really is. In your opinion, how much will COVID cost Missouri high school basketball teams this winter as a whole? And the answers, or the items here to vote on: 0 to 25%, minimal to none. 26 to 50% is nearly half. 51 to 75%, more than half. 76 to 100%, almost every game. What do you guys think?
Oh, man. Asking them to speculate there.
Right.
Who do you want to start?
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
The truth is, obviously, none of us know for sure. You know, like I don't know what it's going to cost us, but I know that last year the state championships being canceled has to play. I just cannot imagine Misha not playing state championships 2 years in a row. I think that's a travesty if that happens.
Right.
I think that we have to make an attempt to play this season. We've got through football. We've got through volleyball. I understand that things are trending in a not great direction right now, but 2 weeks from now that could be different.
Yes.
It's changed so often. I think we got to find a way to play. You know, and if it costs us a couple games here and there, you know, we'll deal with it. But hopefully it's nothing more than that. But they got to make an attempt to finish this, start it and finish it in some capacity. And if you look around at Major League Baseball or football, they've all found a way to start it at some point, and they've all found a way to finish it. And I think we can do that too.
Zeb?
Yeah, I would agree. You know, I think as far as being affected during the season, I think that's going to come down, you know, whatever district protocols. You know, one district might have different protocols compared to another district. But as far as starting and finishing, you know, I think – you know, the heartbreak that, you know, players had to live through last spring, and you know, seeing the excitement of being able to play this fall, seeing the excitement in these kids' faces this, you know, winter sports, you know, they definitely need to be out there participating.
Yeah. Dan?
I agree with both of them. And I think that, you know, the people that I know around, you know, the school districts in our county and around sports and everything, they want it to happen. They want to do right by the kids as well, obviously while keeping everybody safe. I think Misha did everybody a big favor by allowing all virtual schools to still participate. So now there's always that option. You know, if a school has to shut down, you know, maybe the basketball or whatever, the sports programs can continue to practice after a quarantine period, whatever that may look like. And I think our season is different. You know, football is locked into one game a week, you know.
Yes.
and we as basketball team, I mean, these kids go to these AAU tournaments and they do all this kind of stuff. I mean, you play 3, 4, 5 games in a weekend. I think that the coaches, at least, and I'll probably speak for the three of us, will be flexible enough to say, you know what, this game got canceled on this day. I don't care that we've got 4 games next week. We're going to play 4 games.
Right.
You know, that throw the scouting out the window or whatever. Let's do it for the kids. Maybe we've got to play a doubleheader on a Saturday. They do it in Illinois for their semis and their finals, their championships. They play 2 games in a day. I think we can figure it out, you know, for the kids, because it's really about the seniors. You know, the rest of us are going to get next year, you know, or so we think, right? And the seniors, it's their last chance at it. Right. So
Right.
I think it can happen. I think it will happen. So I'm going to go with 0 on your poll question.
I like that.
All right.
I like that.
I like that optimism.
Yeah.
Hey.
And let the athletic directors have the headache of trying to have to reschedule and stuff like that.
I would add to that too. Like even if that means we play each other more, because we had that question earlier about hey, what if we play 4 or 5 times? Like if we get a game canceled against Pacific or whoever, if that means we play DeSoto again, like I'm fine with it.
Right.
And I think these guys would be too. Like
or a small school.
However that works out. But I'd rather play if we have to play more local teams, and whatever we have to do, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we asked that question last night on the coach's box about that very thing, and I mean, Jason Jarvis over there says, hey, if we get a chance and we want to play Festus, hey, we're going to go play Festus, So sure. it's I think the feeling's mutual, large school, small school. So hey,
let them play.
Did I just pique your interest there?
No, I didn't say that.
That was one of those. Maybe I should go play her.
It was more of a roll. It was more of an eye roll when we were talking about Jason.
Oh well,
no, just kidding. I'm kidding, Jason.
I'm moving over to another Twitter poll here real quick, and this is way more important. I'm just going to tell you right now. Here's our Twitter poll. And the question is, what should Livestream STL call their basketball coverage? And we've got 4 questions or 4 answers for you here. Here are the
so you're going to get these guys to vote here.
I think I voted on this.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, good. I love it. Jeffco Jam Time, Jeffco Fast Break, Jeffco Courtside, and Jeffco Hardwood Hoops. So, gentlemen, your thoughts? What'd you vote there, Dan?
I voted for 2. I think the Jeffco
How'd
Fast
you vote
Break.
for 2?
Yeah, I think so.
Let you? Oh, wow, okay.
No. I mean number 2.
Number 2.
Jeffco Fast Break. Yeah.
So you got Jam Time, Fast Break, Courtside, Hardwood Hoops. Zeb.
I like the Courtside.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go. I was going to go Courtside too.
And I'll tell you what's so funny about it. You guys don't see it here, but Courtside's actually winning 50% over all of the others. What's funny about this is the Courtside idea is my wife's. So
you know.
So
we know she's the brains of the
kudos
operation.
to Mrs. Livestream, and but Jeffco Jam Time's mine. It's losing terribly. Hardwood Hoops was actually Riley Blair's. You had Fast Break, right?
Right.
And then Courtside was my wife, and she's like leaps and bounds, completely beating us here. So
here you go. Well, why don't we take a quick break, Ray? And when we come back, I want to talk to these guys a little bit about some of the rule changes for this upcoming season and what that means for local high school basketball, if anything. Mm-hmm. But we'll discuss it right here. You're watching the Main Street Sports Show on Livestream STL.
Of showering? Well, have we got a solution for you?
We interrupt this commercial with good news from your good neighbor. State Farm has new lower car insurance rates, which means you can save more cash and get the service and convenience of a local State Farm agent. That's right, State Farm now has new lower auto rates with their same good neighbor service. It's the real deal for car insurance, folks. And now this.
For lower auto rates in Jefferson County and the surrounding area, call me, Sandy Vest, at 636-464-9298.
This Livestream STL has been a huge asset for Jefferson County sports, in my opinion. I mean, getting these athletes the camaraderie that they're out there and people can see them. I mean, to be honest with you, I got a call from a coach yesterday about one of my athletes that said that they saw some of her games on Livestream STL.
Awesome.
So, I mean, that right there instilled to me that this is important. This is important for those kids. And so, I think it's great, and I wish you guys the best. And if you're out there and you want to sponsor, this is a great opportunity for kids to support kids of our local kids and get them support and get them acknowledgement out there, because we have a lot of great athletes in this county.
Well, we appreciate that. And at the end of the day, our mission is much the same as your missions, coaches, to help shine a light on these kids. And get them exposure and get their name out there and help them. And if they can advance, they're better off, we're better off as a community, and that's why we're here.
Jones Animal Health Clinic, taking care of the furry family members in your life. Walk-ins are always welcome. Visit the Jones Animal Health Clinic at 1237 Truman Boulevard in Crystal City or on the web at jonesanimalclinic.com or call 636-937-9000.
For fine Mexican cuisine,
A family atmosphere.
any place to watch your local sport teams. Come out to La Pechangas. Check out our 4 locations: Arnold, Herculaneum, Crystal City, and One Third. Come out to La Pechanga.
Good evening, folks. You are watching the Main Street Sports Show. I'm not sure what episode this is, Ray.
I believe this is 38.
Episode 38. We've been allowed to do this 38 times now. They haven't kicked us off the air. The FCC hasn't contacted us, anything of that nature yet. But, Ray, before we get started with our last segment and talk about some of the rule changes this year, that not so much major rules, but I wanted to get the coach's opinion on. Tell the folks about what we have coming up on live stream, not only tomorrow night, but Saturday as well.
Yep, tomorrow night, Friday Night Blitz. You know, we've got kind of some big games going on here. You know, DeSoto taking on Festus. We'll be over there. Alex
Some of your guys will be playing against each other.
I have Alex Neisler tomorrow night, along with, I'm bringing him out of retirement, Lee Richardson, to come color.
Lee Richardson.
So I want to see what's your thoughts about that? Bringing a basketball.
Which game is Lee doing?
He's doing our game, and so that'll be our game over at Festus.
Okay.
And then I've got Hal Neisler, bringing him out of retirement too. Andrew Vest and Aaron Brody over at Hillsboro, and Hillsboro's going to be hosting North County. But all those games are going to be on Misha.tv. So let me just preface this. Get on Misha.tv's website and get it now, because it does take a little bit to set up, because you do have to subscribe to that. So just wanted to put that out ahead of time. We're going to start promoting that big time, here. So and then Friday night, or Saturday. This is going to be hilarious.
We're talking about basketball tonight.
All right.
Tomorrow night we have football, and Saturday we totally switch gears here.
Yeah. So we've got the 3rd annual Powerhouse Barrel Racing. We had the folks over at Reflections Arena get a hold of us and basically say, we normally have a he's over here going like this. This is great. So they normally have somebody covered, and they have to be streamed. So they call us at the last minute because the company that was supposed to stream it couldn't do it because they're doing another barrel race. So
and they know that we are experts about barrel racing, right?
We are such experts about barrel racing. So it is what it is. But we went out there, amazing facility out there, and we're excited to be a part of this.
And if we could figure out a way to wear our cowboy hats and our headphones at the same time, we'd do it.
That's right. I don't know how those guys do it.
Gentlemen, are you familiar with any of you experts that could come out and do color for us Saturday on barrel racing at all?
Jim Ross on on WWF or whatever, he did the cowboy hat and the headset for a while.
That's a very good point. I might try that at home to see if it works. All right, enough of that. Let's talk about just a couple of things here, and I'm going to go over these real quick. The NFHS, sort of the governing body that all the state schools look to, came up with 3 new rules this season. Their committee came up with. One of the rules that was updated by this committee, Rule 541, if you're scoring at home, states that a game is declared a forfeit if a coach is removed from the contest for unsporting conduct and no authorized school personnel are present to assume responsibility of the team. So most states have bylaws that cover that instance where no adult school staff is on the bench to attend the team. Officials are not likely to have read those bylaws and consequently not know that rule. So having the basketball rules cover such a situation helps the contest officials and coaches alike if the situation were to arise. Now, I would assume that's just for real small schools or little bitty rural schools someplace. I mean, there's always 3 or 4 people, I would imagine, that could step up at your guys' school.
Have you seen their benches? They got about 10 assistants.
We do have to order a lot of polos.
Yeah. As bad as Riley Blair, I think Riley's going to have like 15 assistants with him this year.
Well, he's got about 70 girls, doesn't he, in the program, I think?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. We were talking about that last night.
So that really shouldn't affect you guys anyway. Now, this is an interesting rule. They've got when a player is disqualified or injured, you go into your 15-second interval before you can replace that player. They added a second warning buzzer when the 15 seconds expired to prepare the team for resumption of play. And now that rule changes to avoid gamesmanship to ensure the time for replacement remains within the rules. Second horn added to, it says, admonishes the coach and team to prepare for the resumption of game. Now, how often, I don't know if this is a big issue somewhere, but I mean, do you actually look at that ever when there's someone who's disqualified or I guess fouls out or is injured to where you're going to sit there and wait to the last second to put someone in from a strategy standpoint?
I've seen it more on an upset coach didn't think that it was a foul, or maybe, the fifth foul was a...
So it's their way of just...
Yeah, no, we're just going to sit here and wait and make you come tell us to put a guy in. I've seen that, but as far as the strategy, I'm not that smart.
I mean,
I use that extra time just to let my kids have a little extra break.
Well, sure, to use the whole 15 seconds.
Yeah, but
catch a little breather. Yeah.
So what is? There's a second horn now that
there's going to be a second horn at the end.
I put a lot of money on that. Not one scorekeeper in the county is going to blow that second horn or remember that that's a rule to do that. So
we'll have to keep track through the season because
I bet we won't hear that horn one time.
Jason Therrell's already lobbying for no second horn.
No.
Okay, I got it.
Sometimes you wonder if they just make some rules so they can say that they made some rules.
Yeah.
So, okay, so the big one now, this is the biggest one, was Rule 10.6.1 penalty was also omitted to clarify that an official is not required to provide a warning to a coach before a technical foul is given. I hear that a lot from where I get to sit, and the reason I love doing basketball and sitting at the table, quite frankly, is I am entertained by the coaches. That is better than watching TV. That is better than anything. I mean, all of you guys watch how you get into the game and your strategy, your animations. That's highly entertaining to me. So keep it up. So anyway, but I've also seen, officials tee guys up, and a lot of times I've heard the response, you didn't even give me a warning. Come on, what are you doing? So now this is letting the coaches know that you don't have to have have you guys ever run into that situation before? Zeb?
I've had a few technicals in my my days, but no, I mean, usually I kind of know the cutoff point when how far you can.
Have you ever had a ref guy say, not say, all right, that's enough, coach, and then you can decide from there if you want to step over that line or not. Because sometimes it's part of strategy, take that technical.
I'm still frustrated with myself. I got my first one last year in 17 years, and it was not a warning at all issued and got it. So I think that was already in place that they weren't going to give you a warning. Sometimes it seems like, but I probably deserved that one. But yeah, it seems fair to me. I mean, there's sometimes you cross a line where you don't really need a warning. If you say something inappropriate, they can get you. So.
Honestly, I've never seen a game, at least around this part of the state, where a referee hasn't said that's enough, or kind of motion like, all right, and just is that quick to trigger. Dan, how many times have you been teed up over the last few years?
So 5 and 15 years, I think. We were having this conversation, me and some assistant coaches a few days ago, and none of them. I probably deserved all of them, but I didn't get my money's worth on any of them. So I feel like I probably could have gotten a warning. And some guys used to give you the stop sign, and that
sure.
was that
Jim
was
Powers gives that stop sign great.
That was a big one. But usually I think it's if you shock a referee with something, you surprise them with something, that's when you get the quick trigger. If it's just you're chirping about a bad call for 3 or 4 trips down the court, they'll usually tell you, hey, that's enough, I've heard enough, blah, blah, blah. But, one time I got one, I ran out trying to call a timeout, and Marvin wasn't listening to me, so I had to run all the way to half court. And
he might not have been able to hear you.
Well, I like Marvin. He does a good job.
I do too.
We may have been, in the midst of getting a 22-6 run put on us in a state sectional game out at Jeffco, and there were some other factors there. But I think if you surprise them, that's when you get the quick tee.
Interesting. We'll have to have a show, and we'll get some Underwood and some of the guys on, and
this is always fun.
Bowen and some of them, and
he's always fun.
Talk to them a little bit about that, and because it is a relationship like anything else, whether it's baseball, the relationship between the catcher and the pitcher, and the coach and the umpire, the home plate umpire, and and these guys have been around, a lot of these officials for years. You know them, heck, some of these guys were probably officiating when I was in high school still, so, but that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That was before the invention of whistles.
But, oh, wow.
Yeah, they had to use their fingers. They couldn't,
I gotcha.
But anyway.
I've got a question.
Yes.
And this is a question that I have not asked any coaches yet, but I'm going to ask about it because it came up last season. The shot clock. For or against? Dan?
I would be for. Now,
Okay.
that's probably because in 15 years, I don't think any of our teams would ever have a shot clock violation.
Okay. Okay. Zeb?
For it.
100% for it.
And I can see the understanding of the larger schools wanting it. Do you think they implement it in boys before they do girls, or will they implement that together? Will they implement a shot clock for girls too, you think, if they ever do it?
I would imagine it would be for both. There's competitive girls teams. I don't think it would affect anything.
There may be people out there who think that the girls' game needs to be sped up more than
Yeah.
the boys, so maybe it would be both.
And that completely changes the approach of a girls' coach, I think, especially too, because good girls teams don't have a problem with driving the ball up quick. When you're brand new coach, first year at a new place, or you're in a situation where you've got lost a bunch of seniors and you've got a really young team and you don't know what you've got in a situation like that. That's a school, or the old school in me thinking, hey, there's a fine line between teaching and getting that kind of team up to speed versus, okay, we've been doing this for 4 years and I've got 25 girls or 25 boys that have been through feeder teams. They're not going to have any problems with that. That's my only drawback. I mean, you could sway me, but I'm leaning more towards not wanting to do that. But I foresee, they're talking about pushing from 3 to 5 games in volleyball now, and they dangled that carrot this year, and I think for the most part that's been semi-successful. So I don't know, call me an old school guy, but that's my whole thing. What's your thoughts, Jeff?
Shot clock all the way.
Give me the shot clock.
All the way.
Okay.
I've seen way too many games that are over halfway through the third quarter that become very boring.
Yeah.
So,
well, those games.
And
are
I'm talking
be,
as a fan,
yeah.
obviously.
Those games are going to be, what do they call that? The turbo clock.
Oh.
There's a turbo clock at a certain amount.
But like if you got 2 or 3 good guards and an 8-point lead in the fourth quarter,
right?
You
that shot clock helps.
2011, we were playing Festus for the district championship. We got the ball tied up with about 1 minute and 40 seconds to go, and never went back to their end.
Wow.
Sure.
And got to keep it and got a foul called, made a free throw or whatever. But
right.
shot it, with 3 seconds to go.
Wow.
Never went back the other way, called 2 timeouts, the whole deal. So that, I think it would, in some cases, make games way more exciting.
Right, right. Final question for you guys. How many years have you guys been coaching against each other? I'd love to know that. You guys know that? It seems like you guys know each other pretty well.
Yeah. I don't know the exact years. It's been a while. So this is my 16th or 17th year at Festus, 5th year varsity. But, I mean, we've been coaching against them pretty much that whole time.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what year Zeb got the job.
7th year head coach.
At DeSoto?
Been there 13 years. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
So it's been
when
a
Dan
long
was
time.
at Crystal, I was still Festus, and in North County, it's still Festus.
Wow.
So it's been, it's been at this point almost all 15 years there.
It's great. It's great.
It's been a while.
Awesome.
We used to be the young guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the final question.
The final question is not on the list. It's a modified Ray question.
Oh, Lordy.
That's the modified Ray question.
Then you ask it.
COVID edition.
You ask it.
Normally Ray would ask this question because when we interview folks for the first time, we always end with what's some weird, crazy interest or skill that you might have that nobody knows about, like a stupid human trick or something like that you could do but we've modified that for COVID. Since the late winter, early spring until now, aside from growing a really cool beard, have you guys picked up a new hobby? Have you learned this? Have you done anything, Coach Therrell?
Nothing overly exciting. My 7-year-old talked me into an Xbox, so we've been getting pretty good at playing Xbox and doing that. So other than that, we did. I tell you what, COVID was good for is golf. So we played a lot of golf over quarantine. So that was good.
What do you play with a 7-year-old on Xbox?
Well, he's into NBA 2K right now, and a couple other. We're trying to get into a little golf game, so something like that.
There you go. Zeb, anything?
I mean, besides spending a lot of time out on the boat, played a lot of cornhole.
There you go.
Hey.
So you've worked on your cornhole game.
Yeah, something I enjoy doing on the off.
Does the beard help with the cornhole game?
It doesn't
keep
affect
you
it.
balanced?
So
doesn't affect.
Keeps you balanced.
Coach Johnson, what about you?
We too played a lot of golf, probably 4 or 5 days a week over the quarantine. But the one thing that we did over that time, I'm about the least handy person that you'd ever meet, and I did successfully install a toilet in our basement.
Hey,
plumbing and all the whole deal.
Oh, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's knock on wood, it's still working and not leaking. And that's top of my list.
That's big though. That's that's
and your
good.
wife is very thankful for that.
She was. Right? Yeah, it had been sitting in a box in the basement for probably 2 years, waiting for somebody else to install it. So
a lot of people that did a lot of remodeling projects. I know we put it into floor and painting the whole house right now.
My wife did some painting.
So that's well, that is it, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. As we talk to our first 3 coaches here in the JCA Large School Boys Basketball Conference. Really appreciate Dan Johnson coming out from Hillsboro Hawks, Zeb Hammond from the DeSoto Dragons, and Jason Therrell from the Festus Tigers. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for kicking off Jeffco. And we're going to go
possibly courtside.
I was going to say, courtside. Yeah. That I think we're probably going to end up going with that, right?
Got to get your tweets in because it's still the same right now. We're still at 50%. So, but get in there on our Twitter page, and it's pinned at the top up there. So get your votes in, and we need your help with that. So.
Exactly, and we hope to be back with a whole new show again next week, and we're going to be sticking with basketball for a while. So we'll let you know when to tune in on that. Thanks for watching, everybody.